we're just waiting for a few more people to arrive, but we'll get started soon. Can everybody hear me? Okay. So I'm going to try to do this without the microphone, but if those in the back, you are not able to hear me, just kind of give me a signal and I'll speak louder. But I'm really excited to share with you the results of the study. And again, I'll just wait a few minutes. There's somebody out there just coming in soon. All right, so I'm going to just share the results of the Quantum Wellness Transformation Project, which we started in January of this year. And this was a study that I had been interested in based on my own results with the energy enhancement system and seeing the effects that I had on my health. And I wanted to take a look at what we call epigenetics, so the expression of the genes, as well as metabolic and quality of health and life effects from our 24-unit energy enhancement system. And this was a really good question because people were reporting changes found in new things, such as their hair grew back, and sometimes the hair would grow back in the original color. And people would notice effects on their skin. And there's a lot of turnover in our skin cells, so it's really easy sometimes to see things that are visible. But as we know, it would be wonderful to look at leafing effects potentially that can be seen inside the body. And so with this study, I will share the details, the highlights of it, but wanted to share that our mission here is to empower people to transform their health and life through education, coaching, science and technology, and community. And what we wanted to do was, yes, take a look at the breakdown of different test results, not only by blood tests, and that was really looking at epigenetic and what we call metabolic factors. But biometric, we measured things like blood pressure, pulse, oxygen levels, and we did extensive surveys that measured things such as how their energy level was, how their nutrition was, and exercise, and how they managed emotions and stress. So it was very detailed. And some of the survey was actually from a very well-validated survey instrument from American College of Lifestyle Medicine, of which I have been board certified in lifestyle medicine. So this is something that is used as a survey instrument in the scientific academic world. And so we're going to be talking about just the quality of life changes also with the EESystem. And again, I know many of you have had your own changes and heard other testimonials, but this was a way to systematically look at a group of people over time to see what happened. And I wanted to kind of just preview, because some people may know this, but just to give you a setting of what we're dealing with, because the energy enhancement system is bringing in a lot of the science to recreate scalar waves, scalar energy, along with other things. But if you look at the history of scalar energy, really was Nikola Tesla who said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in regards to energy, frequency, vibration. And so he was the one who actually demonstrated that scalar energy could be harnessed, and that it was this universal or standing energy. He's really known as the father of scalar energy, and really there was so much potential. And so really being in the EESystem is realizing Nikola Tesla's dream come true. And we know that actually that the scalar energy has been studied in the human body for quite some time. And we know that it improves certain body functions such as the endocrine and immune system. And so Dr. Andrija Umrich did that work. He was a physician. Dr. Glenn Ryan, who is a quantum biologist and who I actually had a chance to meet, could show that there was improvement in the white blood cells, and he can also demonstrate improvemements in the DNA as well. And actually, while I was presenting this research at the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, or A4M, at their Longevity Fest in Las Vegas, not only did I actually meet him, but he was actively doing research at EESystem, looking at the hypercharger, showing and demonstrating the efficacy and the benefits of hypercharged products, such as the medallions we wear, the hypercharged bracelets, and other things, and showing that it was superior, much more superior than scalar enhanced. Now we do invite people when they come to the EESystem to bring in crystals, the medications and supplements, to charge their water if they wish, but the hypercharger is actually takes it to another level of enhancing the energy in that product. And when you look at scalar energy, especially in an energy enhancement system, we're talking about the creation of these bioactive energy fields that can be represented by this image here. It's kind of like a toroidal field of energy that you're in. And it's live and it's active. And we also know that the science shows that the scalar energy can break down molecular bonds of fungi, bacteria. It really neutralizes some of the detrimental energetic fields that are found in, let's say, cell phones and laptops and iPads and the things that we're unfortunately constantly bombarded with. And that was one of the things that, when Dr. Sandra Michael, who is in Las Vegas, was there, and that's where the production of the EESystem is, she was commenting that when they were doing some of the research decades ago on the EESystem, some of the changes that they saw with the 4-unit, you need a 24-unit because of the toxicity that we have in our world right now. I mean, that this has a potential to change, but this is what we're dealing with right now that is affecting our health. We know that a lot of this negative electromagnetic frequency is really kind of a silent epidemic. We're just not aware. Everybody's using Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and it's actually not so healthy for all of us. So the energy enhancement system, we know from different independent researchers that it does activate stem cells to promote cell regeneration. We find that people have relief of pain, chronic pain that they've had for decades. We can see that the detoxification of the body is taking place in the field. It does improve mental health and many other conditions, and it can balance the right and left hemispheres of the brain, as well as balance all the energy centers in our body, our chakras, and increase our energy levels across the cell membrane. So that all has been shown that happens. And we also know that with the energy enhancement system, it's producing biophotons, which actually our own DNA creates biophotons. But not only is it the biophotons, it is the collision of the biophotons in the middle room and with a precise alignment of the field that recreates the scalar energy. And so a lot of time, as many of you are well aware, you'll feel relaxed, you'll feel really rejuvenated, you have more energy to go through your day, and you'll find sometimes with the detox process that you may have this transient exacerbation of certain symptoms, but that is part of the detox process. And so some of it is allowing your body, because I know sometimes people may have worsening of a certain states, such as anxiety or pain, but that's actually part of the detox process. So the energy enhancement system is really bringing the science to really being able to align our mind, body, and spirit together in shifting energy, not only the physical state, but emotional, mental, and spiritual levels. And with that, it can not only promote healthier states of being and allow your body to heal itself, but it can elevate consciousness in people, which is really exciting to have some technology that can assist you in that. So one of the things that's really important to recognize is that the energy enhancement system is not only unique in many things that are within it, because there's really nothing else like it. There's programming in for certain beneficial frequencies, so the Schumann resonance, the frequency of the virgin rainforest, as well as other frequencies are coded in. So our 24 unit, for example, has a repeating 6 set of frequencies that, and we can change the programming to have different frequencies. But the colors represent the colors of the chakras, and so that is part of the biodynamic chromotherapy that's going on. And people ask, why does it slow down, speed up? And actually the pattern you're seeing is actually the spiral of the DNA. It's following the Fibonacci sequence, which is part of many things in our world, whether it's the spiral of a seashell or the spiral of our ear. And many things also in our world is represented, and we ourselves, our own energy fields creates a toroidal field. So this wave is actually infinite. And so sometimes the limits of what we can measure is based on the limits of science or technology. So the main effect that is really within the room, between the biophotons, the scalar vortex, the frequencies that are within our system, and we frequently will use healing frequencies like 432 or 528. We are actually going to be, one of the things we're going to be doing, and this is based on Dr. Glenn Ryan's research, is we're going to be playing ascending levels of solfeggio frequencies, because his research shows that there's a beneficial effect with doing that. And these solfeggio frequencies can actually correspond from the lower chakras up to your crown chakra.
Good question.
Yes.
So they're set at 432 and 528 here?
Well, actually, a musician member says that there's a certain note that's played by the sound, but we just play sound frequency that are set at these frequencies.
And then these things that have 6 different frequencies?
They have 6 different programs. Yes.
And they're all set the same?
Yes. Yes. It's 1 through 6 and another 1 through 6, and yes. We can't change it, but we usually just kind of keep it the same. So the other properties of the scalar energy is that it really returns us to the original appropriate electrical matrix. And this really is aligned with the fact that we're really meant to be healthy people, not to be in a state of dis-ease or imbalance. And that's why this is beneficial for everybody, whether it's children, even pregnant women. There's not many things that are safe for pregnant women at any stage of the pregnancy. It's also safe for animals. We see benefits when people use the EESystem on, let's say, growing plants too. Dr. Sandra gives a great story about these seeds that were 5 years old, and when planted without EESystem, it didn't really grow anything. But with the EESystem, the seeds were actually scalar enhanced, and they grew abundantly. So that was, again, a validation that there are things that can demonstrate the power of the scalar energy. And for us, a lot of times, what is causing dis-ease is actually an imbalance in our energy, a lowering of our cellular energy, and we usually have 70 to 90 millivolts across our cell membrane. And when people are in dis-ease, sometimes that charge can drop down to as low as 20 millivolts, especially when people are dealing with very serious diagnoses, such as cancer. And so how can we heal when our cellular charge is so low? Now, this, as I mentioned, has been studied by independent researchers. So this is Dr. John Areva. He was the president of the Biophysics Research Foundation and the top-ranked researcher at the Department of Defense. And he was amazed at the transmutation of these detrimental energy fields, the collision of the photons, the production of new forms of beneficial energy. That was a very broad spectrum. I know many of you are aware of PEMF. And it's not as if you can't use that synergistically with the scalar energy, but with the application of the EESystem, it does address a multitude of health conditions for a lot of people. And, you know, he said it was like magic. It really, truly amazing physics at a high level of application. And in reference to something I had earlier, this is, you know, the next level, and what we call the fifth dimensional energy is really what the EESystem represents, and that this is infinite, because they've been able to measure the fields out to 300 plus miles, let's say, from our center, and it's omnidirectional because the properties of scalar energy is it's longitudinal, but it's also omnidirectional. And so if you think about just even our center, it's going out for 300 miles, again, in this toroidal field, and assisting with our community, assisting with the land in terms of what's happening with toxins in our air, water. Actually, there's plans that Dr. Sandra Rose-Michael has with the military to use the application of EESystem to clean up water, for example. So there are things that are coming in the future that are really going to be exciting in terms of the applications of the EESystem. So this is a researcher named Dr. Sabina DeVita who was studying this. She has a book called Electromagnetic Pollution, and so she, you know, was curious how something that looks like a computer system could be beneficial, but she did find that it did. And so you see the images. This is what we call gas discharge visualization. It uses Kirlian photography, and this is not an aura, but it represents the energetic fields in our body as represented by the meridians, and it can be mapped out. And you can see on the left here, this lady was feverish, she was feeling depressed, low energy, and in a 4-unit, an hour later, her energy fields are much more complete. She felt more energetic, she felt more hopeful, she was no longer feverish. And so we can demonstrate that this works. And actually the exciting thing is that this kind of technology, this gas discharge visualization, is produced by a device called the BioWell. The inventor is a famous Russian scientist, and I actually have something that I'll show you a little bit more about the BioWell, because we'll be bringing this into one's visions to be able to look at the biofields, and I find it's very highly accurate because it will look at physiologic body systems and be able to pinpoint if a particular organ has some issues, if the energy is lower, for example. And again, lots of other research that has been shown. So on the actigraph that a lot of acupuncturists will use, improved energy with thermography, less inflammation that's in the red before and afterwards. This Kirlian photography shows how the charge actually was improved after being in the EESystem, and the charge stayed the same a few weeks later. And when they look at live blood microscopy, there's improved blood flow. You can see that these red blood cells are kind of clumped here, and there's more flow in this one. I'm going to show you more evidence of how it can look different. And as part of the BioWell, you can do a chakra analysis, and you can see typically more alignment. I'll show you my own results.
It can be that far outside, though, like, one could be way over here.
Oh no, this just represents the energy fields. And so I'll describe it a little bit more when you look at my results. So this is more kind of images of the study of the live blood, kind of before and afterwards. Again, you see that there's more flow, and what you see is that there's an increase in toxins. So there may not have been the visualization of the toxins in the blood before, but with the EESystem, you see things such as parasites, fungi, viruses coming out to the blood, and a lot of times you think that certain things are fixed, sometimes genetic defects, such as in sickle cell anemia. They have an abnormal shape to their red blood cell. They will develop a sickle cell because of their abnormal, what we call hemoglobin, the protein that carries the oxygen. But even in that genetic disorder, they found that the blood cells, the red blood cells, they were more normal appearing. So it's just very interesting to have something that you think is, you're not able to reverse, have that change. But other clinicians saw that there were individual cases. So Dr. Vega, who is an oncologist, saw that there was a doctor who's cured of blindness. Dr. John Birch saw that there was a patient who had recovered from paralysis to the legs. Dr. James DeBoer, a surgeon, said that there was extremely rapid post-surgical healing from using the EESystem. And what we have seen is sometimes people get the effects before surgery. So again, improving the energy charge in their body and just getting their immune system boosted up. So before surgery, they're in a more optimal state. And as many of you know, when you're in a surgical procedure, sometimes you're exposed to anesthesia and other medications, like pain medications. And so afterwards, we find that people do really well after surgery by coming back with the EESystem to detoxify the body of things and also promote the healing that will allow them to recover more rapidly. And so this is looking at brainwaves using EEG, and they saw that just for 10 minutes in the EESystem, there was more normalization of the brainwave activity on the EEG. And I bring that up because there is a documented case from Dr. Terry Shintani, who's a pediatrician at the University of Hawaii. I actually got a chance to meet him, but he for this case study of his, there was a little girl, 4 years old, with autism, who had severe seizures. She actually had 6 to 8 what we call tonic-clonic seizures, so big seizures, every day, 6 to 8 of them, quite a lot. And parents tried many different things to alleviate these major seizures. And so they had the little girl be in the system, just playing, so she wasn't napping or anything, she's just playing, and be in the system for 1 or 2 hours at a time. And they were tracking the number of seizures in this, so they saw that, like, after the 3rd treatment, she had a seizure-free day for the first time in a year and a half. And then she actually had less and less seizures with more treatment. And so there's a whole list of things, some that I talked about already, but it increased the cellular oxygenation, hydration in her blood. And you actually may have heard of this. Dr. Sandra likes to do a champagne trick. She'll take a hypercharged bracelet and put it around a glass of champagne. You can see all the bubbles coming up because of increased hydration and oxygenation. And so you can do this little trick with a glass of champagne and your own hypercharged bracelet. But it balances the pH and blood glucose and improves heart rate variability. And heart rate variability is ideal because it can be if people are stressed, their heart rate variability, which is kind of the time between heartbeat, moment to moment, and when there is, let's say, more stress, their heart rate variability will fluctuate and be a little bit more chaotic. And it does sometimes increase their risk for certain things, certain heart conditions, for example, such as arrhythmias. So it does help to have improved heart rate variability. But it enhances the neurotransfer velocity, so the signal that you might get along nerves, and improves the communication between your cells, because there's a lot of action that's going on in your cells all the time, the signals that is happening, and you can improve that, enhance that in the system. Improves DNA and nerve regeneration. There's an antidepressant effect. Can help with ADHD, autism, Alzheimer's, many different things. You know, there are reports of people with schizophrenia, for example, being helped by the EESystem. It can induce a meditation state like a monk in 7 minutes. So even people who are experienced meditation, they can feel the effect of the EESystem right away. They love it. So as we talked about, neutralizes EMF, ELF, radiation. One thing that Dr. Sandra has brought up is that I know many of you are aware of what happened in Fukushima, right? Yes. And she said that was an extinction level event. And there's unfortunately more radiation in the world. And so this is why being in the system assists with mitigating all that. Really, everybody should come to the EESystem to detox regularly, because we're just surrounded by this toxic environment right now. So I'm going to switch gears to our study design, and I'll just go over it. But the main question was, could we demonstrate and quantify the benefits of the EESystem and show these changes? And this was based on the fact that I saw changes for myself. So I'm a very curious scientist, and I have done some studies myself in my career. And so we plan to do this for over 6 months and follow people who came in to have labs done and answer surveys. And we did this before. We had them go into the 52 hours of the EESystem. Some had exposure to the EESystem before, some had very little exposure. So there was some variance in what they had been exposed to. But the main thing was that, as a research project, we want to honor people's privacy and data. And of course, HIPAA is key as well to honor. And so we looked at the effects before 52 hours at least minimum, because some people did more, and that's fine. But we mainly wanted to see, we allowed people to either do 2 hours, or we wanted to do 10-hour overnights. That was fine, with the goal that at least at midway, 3 months, they would do at least half of the hours, or 26 hours. And it was very important to have them do the detox, because really the detox process is half of the process of being in the EESystem. And so you may notice that if you don't do your detox, you may feel possibly a little more tired or achy until you do your detox. And actually, we have a member who did our hypercharged relaxed sauna first, and then went home to do a detox bath. And Dr. Sandra says that is very accomplished, and this member felt great. So if you ever do get a chance to try the sauna, that might be something for you to think about. And I know some people have saunas too, but you could do the sauna first, and then the salt bath. And then I went over the results with people. We took people of all different kinds of conditions, and we looked at what medications, what supplements they took, how their diet was like, exercise, sleep, other habits. We looked at their quality of life, vital signs, height, weight, body mass index, hip to waist ratio, percent body fat, blood pressure, pulse oximetry, And the metabolic markers were broad, so blood sugar, insulin resistance, looking at inflammation, the visceral fat, the lipid panel, oxidative stress, liver function, thyroid, vitamin D, adrenals, male and female hormones, were among many of the labs we took a look at. And so we were looking at biological age because that is an important marker to look at. I think of it as another thing like a blood pressure to take a look at, because how do you know how you're doing with your lifestyle, from your nutrition to exercise? And we know that when people are younger, by 7 years biologically, you're going to decrease your risk for disease by 50%. So these are things that have been studied, and why it's important to look at your biological age. And so I use this company called True Diagnostic to take a look at how we can measure biological age. Though one thing about measuring biological age is that this is still an active area of research on how to better assess your biological age. So they're always updating their research protocol and the algorithms that they use. And so a lot of people are familiar with the telomeres in terms of looking at biological age. The telomeres are in red, and they're the caps of our chromosomes. And we have a set from mom and a set from dad, and they can be helpful for stabilizing our chromosomes, because our chromosomes are many coils of DNA in a chromosome, and these chromosomes are in the middle of our cells in the nuclei. There are also other types of DNA, like mitochondrial DNA, but for this, they are aware that the telomere length is associated with certain kinds of conditions, from cancer to chronic health problems like heart problems. And one thing that they do know is that when cells divide, which is happening to us all the time, that can shorten the telomeres. So the shorter the telomeres, the more likely that you're going to have kind of an aging effect. But really, as they've studied biological aging, it's only 1 or 12 factors that can measure biological age. So there are other things such as inflammation or the health of your gut that actually can predict your biological age. So at some level, this is an older test, and as I'll show you, it's even though a lot of people know about it, there's actually better models for looking at biological age. And when I started looking at this a couple of years ago, I was already looking at protocols for youthing and longevity, and so I had done a baseline even before. This was in June of 2022, so even before I had committed to getting the 2020 unit. And so my biological age at that time was 50. I was 52 chronologically, and so I noticed that with the EESystem, I was just happening to have a repeat of the test, and I was doing it following the company's directions to do it every 3 to 6 months. And so my biological age went down to 47, and then after a few more months, my biological age went down to 38. So that was very interesting, because that's why I wanted to do the study, because okay, this happened, I want to see if it can be repeated and what people will get. So one, the telomere age is one, but the second marker, because when you get these test results, there's so much data to look at. But I went with ones that were either well validated, and that Dune and Pace was a well validated way to look at what we call the rate of aging, because this can slow down or speed up, and it can change again with life and stress. And so you can look at this in what is called phenotypic ways, how you may appear. So on the top line, this may represent a woman who's 50, but in the middle of that, she might be average appearing, And then over to the left, she may look 10 years younger. And on the right, same chronological age, she may look 10 years older. And the same thing for men. And I'm sure all of you have seen this before, and I saw this in my practice. I mean, I have taken care of thousands of people in my career. So sometimes I had a patient who was 100, and she looked like she was 60. She's walking every day. She looked fantastic. Had a good mindset, and but then unfortunately I've had patients who've been very ill, especially if they had problems such as chronic kidney disease or on dialysis, and they easily looked a lot older. So that's the variation. But the reason why this is a good one is it's looking at 5 decades of research, and it's based in a city called Dunedin in New Zealand, and so that's why it's called the Dunedin case. And I'll show you the results. So this is the Dunedin case report. It'll look at a range between 0.6, which is 0.6 biological year per chronological age for the people who are more slowly aging, and the people who age faster, they might be 1.4. That represents 1.4 biological age over chronological age. Okay. And so this average is around 1. And they look at, again, the risk for all-cause mortalities, what you might die from, and all chronic disease based on this Dunedin case and the risk for that. And then I was around 1, and then my Dunedin case is slowed down to 0.89 biological age. So the third algorithm that actually the company put out in 2023 is actually kind of the next level of more advanced biological testing. This is developed at Harvard by Dr. Jessica Lasky-Sue, and they looked at past samples even, where they're looking at what are called methylation patterns at 1 million locations on the DNA. And they're looking at protein expression. We're all making proteins all the time, and they have many different functions in our body. And they also looked at metabolites and expression of the DNA for this algorithm. But they're looking at a lot of things. It's really considered what we call the epigenetic clock. As some reviews kind of looked at just these different ways that you're assessing biological markers, that the telomere length is extensively valued, that has low predictive power, and that these newer kind of algorithms were better. So this epigenetic clock currently performs the best considering all the factors we're looking at. So we had a schedule of just collecting the information and going through, because it takes a while for some of the test results to get back. It can be 4 to 6 weeks for the epigenetic test results, and for the metabolic, it's usually within a couple weeks. I would meet with people, go over the results, and give them some indication of what the results might mean. And we had this kind of ongoing, I've done a preliminary data analysis. I'll be working with a statistician to do more data analysis because my plan is to present, I presented, but my plan is to publish the data. But that is itself a process. I was involved in some research study focused on weight loss and lifestyle measures, and it took 2 years when we kind of completed the study to have it be published. But it was exciting to present it at Longevity Fest. And we just asked them to hydrate before, during, afterwards. That's really important for the detox process. They had to just attend their sessions and make sure it was all done in the time period. And as I mentioned, the detox process is really important. So they were given the detox fast to use. But they were otherwise to really not change their lifestyle too much. some, had to for different reasons, but, so of the 26 people that participated in this, 20 were women, 6 were men. The average age was 41 to 75, so 60 the average age, but the range was 41 to 75. Many had pre-existing conditions. You can see from allergies, anxiety, cardiac issues, to depression, diabetes, prediabetes, dysmenorrhea was painful periods, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, high blood pressure, Parkinson's, PTSD, psoriatic arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, renal issues, sexual dysfunction. About half of our participants were on medications, prescription medications. Many of them are on supplements. Most of them, 24 out of the 26. So as I mentioned, the lifestyle was nutrition, exercise, sleep, substance use, alcohol, tobacco, other substances. But we looked at emotional, mental health, resilience, connection between their self, their spiritual connection, as well as mind-body. So it was, again, a very detailed survey that we collected. So these are some highlights. So there were 8 people with elevated blood pressure or high blood pressure, and they all had some reduction of their blood pressure, and some were extremely high. But the average decrease in the top number, what we call the systolic blood pressure, was 28 millimeters of mercury, and you can see the range was 145 to 223. So some of these people had off the chart blood pressure. And the decrease in the diastolic was 12 points, so the baseline was 86 to 112. Also, some very abnormally high. And the decrease in percent body fat, we saw that in 13, about half of them was 1.7%. And that was interesting to know, because we have had some members say that their intention was not to lose weight, but they lost weight around the middle, which is more the visceral fat. There were people, because when you look at weight, can fluctuate day by day through baby cycles for women, but some people did have, and so I looked at if they had a weight loss of more than 5-pound difference as being considered significant. And there were some people who had some weight loss, but you can see it's kind of across the board. Most people didn't have much change, and a few had some weight gain. Again, the EESystem can support your body and change, but you have to set intentions. You have to do the things in terms of what you're going to be putting into your body that may affect your weight. But what was really very interesting was that at baseline, half of the people were biologically younger already, and half the people were biologically older. And what we found, when I took a look at the numbers, were the ones who were younger at baseline biologically were older. So the chronological age average was 67, but their biological age was 63. So a difference about 3.72 years. And the ones who were biologically older, their average age was 55.45, but their biological age was 58.92. So the increase in their age difference was like 3.47 years. It's interesting. I don't know if it's because, I'm 55 now, so I have a lot of things going on in my life between parents that are older and my children. And it's possible people who are older in their 60s have a different perspective in life, or maybe they're doing something different where they're biologically younger. But it was interesting kind of to see that at baseline that there was a change. And what we took a look at in terms of their epigenetic change and the age reversal, and I did have to, because we had some technical issues with a couple of them, and I ended up excluding one person who she was biologically younger by 10 years at baseline. But unfortunately, when we did a 6-month collection, she had COVID. And she was 30 years older. And we could probably go into a long discussion about COVID and all that, but for the purpose of this talk, we will not, but there was something that happened that aged her quite a bit. And so if you look at the three different ways that we assessed biological age, with omic age being the more superior epigenetic clock, 19 out of the 23 were biologically younger, so 82.6%. The average age reduction was 3.44 years, with a range of 0.49, so that was the least amount of youthing, to somebody who reversed their aging by 15 years. Yes. So that was interesting to see. With the Dunedin pace, 21 out of the 23, so about 91.3%, slowed down their aging. So that, I feel, was also very interesting and significant to see that most of the people slowed down their aging. And the telomere age was not as notable, only 2 of the 23 were biologically younger. And so it was 0.45 years younger. But again, this is the one that had the least predictive power, so to speak. So really looking at the first two algorithms, it was much more compelling that with 52 hours in the 24 unit, there would seem to be some epigenetic effect. Now, we're in the process of doing 100 hours just to see what might happen. And it could be because the benefits of the EESystem is cumulative over time, that you may see more in effect. And as I will be talking about, there are plans to really see if we can lower the biological age even more. But one of the things to note is that, again, this is a dynamic process, and one of the paradigms that we're going to be shifting, which the time is now, is that just because you've been diagnosed with something doesn't mean that is a life sentence. And there's already from the American College of Western Medicine and well-known doctors, so Dr. Dean Ornish of UCSF, he has been doing research since the 1970s on reversibility of heart disease. And he's looking at other things such as prostate health and cancer, and using just ways that we can shift these changes with lifestyle to affect the trajectory of, let's say, a certain dis-ease process. So, more data. So the metabolic data, there were some people who had low good cholesterol, which is called a high density lipoprotein. So some people had improvements, and so that was nice to see that they had better, more normal levels of the HDL levels. And some people who had high LDL, low density lipoprotein, the unhealthy fat, and so that was nice to see that there was some change in their cholesterol levels. We did see some women who were postmenopausal, or that they had improved levels of estradiol and progesterone, which is helpful because there are reports of women who were on hormone replacement therapy, but they wanted to get off, and they were doing their testing, and they could find they could taper off their HRT, and they still felt fine, and their hormone levels were good. And 3 out of the 6 men had improved testosterone levels, so that is very compelling. And again, we see this because a lot of men may have some issue with sexual dysfunction, whether it's issues with libido or having erectile dysfunction. And with the EESystem, they actually have improvement in their sexual dysfunction. So, for example, there's a member who tried Viagra, didn't help at all, and that can happen. And I prescribed Viagra as well as other medications for sexual health in the past, and they can have some serious side effects. I always have to, counsel men, like if you have a abnormally prolonged erection, you've got to go to the emergency room. That's not normal. And anyways, he started having morning erections like he had as a teenager, and he's in his late 50s. So he was pretty happy about that. And a lot of couples are happy because it's not only men, but women will have improved sexual health as well in terms of libido and other things. 5 had improved adrenal function, so your adrenal gland is involved in kind of the stress response. So some people had low levels of cortisol and DHEA, and that actually improved as well. So I'm now switching to the survey data, which was a combination of both qualitative and quantitative data. In terms of the change in health, this is by looking at a Likert scale, 1 to 10, that 13 overall had, or half of the people had improvements in their health, and 9 out of the 26 showed improved energy. Some had no change, some did have some drop as well. But, qualitatively, 20 of the 26 showed improved change in energy and health. They felt more balanced, more in tune with their higher self. They found that they could come up with answers faster. They were more relaxed. It leveled out their energy slump, so they had an energy slump during the day, and they just had more energy. They were able to accomplish more. They were able to feel really rested after 8 hours of deep sleep. One person reported that it improved their balance of their blood sugar. They could eat things that they couldn't eat before that might spike the blood sugars. So, for example, they tended to have higher blood sugars with eating carbs, but it seemed to make a difference in their insulin resistance. Somebody reported helped their depression a lot. And sleep, 13, about half of them improved their sleep. They slept longer, deeper, improved the quality of their sleep. They had deeper dreams. They could fall asleep faster and go back to sleep if they were waking up. So other things on nutrition, actually there was an improvement because they were more rested and creative to create healthier, more vibrant meals. They had less emotional eating. So that's very significant because a lot of people who may have issues with the weight, it is tied to emotional eating, can be tied to a trauma of some type. And exercise actually has showed improvement, getting some more change, but they were stronger, more flexible. They may have had some physical musculoskeletal issues, like this person had biceps issues and that resolved. Somebody could use their shoulder and hip and no longer aches. They had more motivation to exercise. They had more energy to do something, and they channeled that motivation to exercise. So that was great to see. In terms of purpose in life, 10 showed an improvement. They had a connection to their Creator, God, that was seen. They had higher connection and intuition. They were more connected to the soul. They felt relaxed and more rooted in self and spirit. They felt like they had a higher level of consciousness and a better ability to focus on the positive. They felt stronger in their self-esteem. Their belief and awareness of God was better, and a stronger connection to God, what they reported. In terms of stress, half improved. And some of the participants had very, very stressful things, like marital issues, relatives passing away, and resilience was also improved in about half of the people. And so some qualitative, they were much more calm. Those were noticed by people around them. They believed that sessions enabled them to better deal with the unusually high amount of stress that they had in 2024. And able to handle stress much easier, handling things smoother. They used to stress them out, find more ways and facets to do things that had been hidden from themselves to process. So past sometimes trauma, more resilience, easy to go with the flow, don't trip as much. They were able to bounce back quicker. In terms of mind-body connection, because one of the problems that we have right now is people are very disconnected with their body. There's actually a process sometimes that we numb ourselves from feeling. But 12 out of 26 had improved mind-body connection. they just had more awareness and they were able to kind of stay with themselves, being able to process emotions. They were more aware of what was happening inside their body, more peaceful, present. They could just be able to note their emotions, because a lot of people suppress their emotions, because that's sometimes been part of the conditioning not to feel emotions, whether it might be maybe feeling upset or angry, or being told not to cry and things like that, that are actually not healthy. We're meant to express all our emotions in a very healthy way, and so they can deal with that better. So in terms of depression, anxiety, these were kind of using standardized ways to assess depression and anxiety. So those of you who are in the medical field, you're well aware of the PHQ-2, the Patient Health Questionnaire, with their questions. So that was what was used. And depression, 9 had improvement, anxiety, 10 improved. They were feeling more level. They could evaluate some communication, to let things go. They were feeling stronger. More residues of past traumas were resurfacing for deeper healing. And this is why Dr. Sandra Rose Michaels says that everything that comes up, and really, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, it's meant to be clear. It's your body's intelligence allowing that to be coming up for it to be clear. So they had, somebody had a certain level of anxiety and melancholy when they got up, but that was gone. They were more calm, less anxious, and more willing to act on tasks. More joy and gratitude was what somebody reported. So these are just some highlights. So this woman had chronic pain from arthritis and is a musician, so she really couldn't do certain things because of the pain from arthritis. She's young, 44, and she had dysmenorrhea, painful periods for years, gone. Very happy about that. Another woman had a lot of anxiety and panic attacks and multiple ER visits. No visits since the study. A woman with fascial pain in the jaw and head is also dealing with a lot of, just family dynamics and changes. The pain was gone, better emotional, mental health, dealing with a lot of life changes. Another person, multiple life stressors, PTSD, things like house burning down and marital issues, was able to be more calm and deal with everything, and able to move forward. So really positive things that they found from the EESystem. Now I'm just going to switch and looking at future study. We're ongoing right now with looking at 100 hours because of the cumulative effect, and also just again with what we're surrounded by and just experiencing life. Life has its highs and lows. So we're going to be finishing that up in January, but it does take a while for the data to come in. But future could be looking at more hours, 200, 300, 400, or again, you could get as much time and see. And I invite people to kind of track your time and see what changes you make at different time points. But people have asked, how's the 24 versus the 48? And actually, the exciting thing is we are going to be upgrading to a 48 unit in the coming year, so that might be interesting to kind of see. And other people have asked, well, what's the difference between daytime and nighttime? And it's a personal choice. So really, at night, depending on your circadian rhythm, and we all have different ones, and I know it might be different sometimes if people are shift or workers or work nights, and you have to shift your whole circadian rhythm. Ideally, you're going to activate your self-healing potential with your stem cells when your brain waves are in theta, like in meditation, or in delta, which is during sleep. So again, it can be personal choice. I know sometimes people only have time for an hour or two, and some people prefer their overnights because of traffic, or sometimes people do both. So I think you have to kind of just see what the effects are for yourself, but it is an interesting question because during sleep you're likely more relaxed and your body's in that rest and digest, the parasympathetic system is on, and your we may have more potential at other ones, but it's a question that could be answered. So, we are going to have a bio well here. We'll be able to kind of look at that and see how we can shift the balance of energy for people between these sessions. And knowing that sometimes the numbers may shift because you are going through a detox process and you're releasing things. And sometimes we see that, like there are reports of people having a head trauma and there's a big release from having a past head trauma that has been seen in the body of a person. And so I actually got to meet Dr. Karat in Orlando in November. He is really a wonderful person and beautiful energy, and he's so committed to offering just his knowledge. He actually, you can get all of this. He's written many books, maybe 18. He offers it free and by ebooks. But this is the BioWell device, and anyways, you can use it to assess. And I'll just show you part of my results. There's a lot more detail, but this was my energy field, 1 hour, this is before and 1 hour afterwards. So my energy went from 46 joules to 50 joules. And for those of you who want to remember your science, a joule per second is watts. So I like to say I can light up a light bulb. So there you can see there's the proof. And my chakra balance after that same time period, in the hour, went from alignment at 84% to 94%, and above 90% is optimal. And it's not, I know John, you were asking about, it's out of your body. It's just an average of where your fields are, because on one side to the, if you look at this on the left, you're more extroverted, you're moving more towards others or focus on work, and this is just more introversion and focus on yourself. So, and then the size of the circles may represent the amount of energy. So it's interesting, but there's also other data that you can look at, again, as I mentioned, by organ system, so you can know if you are, it's a diagnostic tool. You can know if there's an organ system that you're starting to have trouble with and be able to address them. And actually, not only is this diagnostic tool, there is a therapeutic. There are specific music frequencies that come with your analysis that you can listen to balance your energy flows. And the other thing that I'm going to be just, these are recent trips I took, and this was in Las Vegas, so I was with Dr. Sandra, and this is Dr. Glenn Ryan, the quantum biologist I was talking about. So we were very excited. We were like having fun being nerds. And so we're gonna have Dr. Glenn Ryan come to our center. He's gonna give a talk about water, and we're gonna have some scientific experiments that we get to do with Dr. Glenn Ryan here. So that's gonna be coming up, aiming for January for that to happen. And I was recently in Maui for a very special event, and Dr. Todd, this is Dr. Todd O'Kaites, who has a very special clinic down in Carlsbad. And I'm actually going to be bringing in Dr. Todd's technology, which is called the song laser procedure. It's what we call an autologous stem cell transplant. He is a pulmonary critical care doctor that went into the regenerative medicine space long ago. So he's very well known. He actually was one of the scientists featured in several documentaries, including biohacking. And so he has done research. So one treatment of his specialized laser can reverse aging by 3 years. He obviously has had multiple treatments of his own procedure, and he's brought down his biological age by 20 years. He's 68. You know, I know that, you can decide how old he looks. There he is. So, these are my references about papers, but I do want to acknowledge, not only Dr. Sandra Rose Michael, but her son, who goes by Michael Scaler. They actually later, after the 5 months into our research, offered some funding to support this research, which was very generous of them. Also want to acknowledge the Wellness Missions team. So Alexis did a tremendous amount to help people with their test results, you know, collecting it, and Melanie and Soames also helped part of the team to help out people who were here for our health data session. So it was a team, definitely a team effort to get this done. And anyways, I'm gonna before, let me see, it's just after 8 right now. Why don't we just take a quick break if people wanna get up, get some water. I'm not done, I'm gonna do a meditation, but I'd also like to kind of talk about things that are upcoming. So if people wanna take like maybe 5-10 minutes to go to the bathroom, get some more water, stretch, then we'll come back, I'll go over some of the things that we're gonna be upcoming at the center, and then we'll do our meditation to close.